Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Oh, ain't this going to be fun? Welcome, everyone, to Animat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are we all doing, everyone? Are you having a good time? Are you all settling in now that we are in the month of February? We went through one whole insane month with January with all that madness that happened. But now we're going to be entering into a new batch of madness now that we are in a brand new month. Oh, and thank you so much, Gordon ZX, for the subscription right there. But anyways, I know that this week, well, it has been rather dry in terms of animation news. And even I was contemplating a little bit if for this episode, I might end up only talking about 4 stories or just have like a quick short episode. But this is not necessarily the case because I did manage to find a bunch of stories that are going to be worth talking about. Now, it may not be like as explosive or controversial as the last episode where we really got into some heavy subjects right there. But there will be a good amount of cartoons that we will be talking about and a good amount of crazy that we shall be discussing as well. But hopefully, overall, we will still go and have a great time. So, I would like to go and ask the chat wall right over here. Guys, are you all prepared for this week's episode of Animat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you all ready? Okay, yes. I see people are all prepared. That's great to hear. Okay, so I think with all that said and done, we shall now go and get this one started. And with our first story that we have here today, well, I'm going to start with a bit of a bonus miscellaneous. This may not be animation related, but this certainly fits in the category of crazy. In fact, this could debatably be the craziest story that happened last week. And the first thing I would like to ask the chat wall is, have any of you guys actually watched The Masked Singer, or are you currently watching The Masked Singer? Let me go and ask you guys. Have you guys watched it? Any Masked Singer watchers out there? Let's see now. No. Heard of it, not watched it. Let's see. No. One's like, I know that Kermit was in it once. Yeah, I heard that too. Okay, well. Oh, we do have one fan. Okay, so we do, one person used to watch it. So I think it's safe to say that most of you guys have not seen it. And personally, I'll admit, I don't watch The Masked Singer either. Like, I just find the concept to be a little too gimmicky and a little bit too regurgitated considering how many singing competition shows that we already have. So the addition of that one is just, it feels a little bit too much. But if you guys don't know about The Masked Singer, well, let me just go and give you a little bit of a quick synopsis. The Masked Singer is basically this show where a bunch of celebrities would get together and they would go in this singing competition. But the catch is that they're all wearing costumes. So at the same time as they're doing their little singing competition dressed up as costumes, the audience and the judges, not only do they have to go and like do the usual singing competition thing where after each episode they got to eliminate the weakest link, but at the same time they got to go and guess who the celebrity in the mask is, or who the celebrity in that major costume is. And from time to time, they would reveal a bunch of people that may not necessarily be A-list celebrities, but people that many would easily recognize. Rather it be people like Wayne Brady, Kermit the Frog, or Gordon Ramsay, or I don't freaking know, but you guys get the idea. And maybe like not all the people I mention are like that have made an appearance on The Masked Singer. I don't think Gordon Ramsay was a contestant once, but you get the general idea. It's guessing who the celebrity in the costume is as they're doing their little singing competition. But it looks like for the current season that they are recording right now, already it has a lot of people talking, but maybe not necessarily for all the right reasons, especially when one of the first people that was eliminated is none other than Rudy Giuliani. Yes, folks, this was actually a thing that it happened where currently The Masked Singer is on its 7th season and they are currently recording all the episodes that's going on. But then it was revealed that one of the first people that did get eliminated in the show was actually Rudy Giuliani, the very controversial Republican figure and Republican politician that has a very heavy link with Donald Trump, and often for all the wrong reasons. So in the episode, you know, they're still doing the same thing, and it was about time that the Masked Singer has to take off the mask, and it turns out, oh, it's Rudy Giuliani. But the reactions that happened there, well, not necessarily the most positive. People were absolutely shocked, but things really got off the rails when we saw the reactions from the judges, where both Ken Jeong and Robin Thicke, the moment they saw that it was Rudy Giuliani, they immediately walked off the stage. They did not sit there. They did not go and like have their little banter afterwards where like after the celebrity is revealed, they would go and have a little bit of a chat about their experience and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, apparently Ken Jeong and Robin Thicke, they decided to bail out because of their distaste with Rudy Giuliani. And that would ultimately leave Jenny McCarthy and Nicole Scherzinger to stay on stage and do a little bit of that awkward banter between them and Rudy Giuliani. Now, of course, reports did come out that both Ken and Robin did eventually come back to the show. They did come back to the stage to go and continue their job. But apparently after that report, this is the big thing that a lot of people were talking about, and currently the big controversy that happened is that they got someone like Rudy Giuliani to come in and be a part of The Masked Singer. And just a quick little recap regarding the whole controversy with Rudy Giuliani, well, there is a massive list. Now, one thing that I will start this off, and I will say that yes, there was a time when Rudy Giuliani was highly beloved. You guys probably don't remember, but back in 2001, he was actually considered to be America's favorite mayor. Back when he was actually the mayor of New York City, where he was considered to be a key player in not only giving strength to New York City, but to the entire nation after the 9/11 attack. He was one of the key people to lift America's spirit after that tragic event occurred. But then, following afterwards, and as his career would progress, things only got progressively worse and worse and worse with Rudy Giuliani, especially with his heavy connection with Donald Trump. And well, from there, there's just a massive list of just corruption, of just like a whole bunch of evil doings, not to mention being a prominent player in spreading the big lie that apparently the 2020 election was rigged just because Donald Trump didn't win, despite the fact that there is no evidence that showed that Donald Trump should have won the 2020 election or anything like that. Not to mention how he was a key player in the January 6th coup, where he was apparently a major player causing that terrorist attack to go and happen. And also, let us not forget about that very infamous incident when he was caught on tape in the Borat sequel. You guys probably remember in the Borat subsequent movie film where Rudy Giuliani did make an appearance, where for a brief moment he was actually alone in a hotel room with Borat's daughter, who is a teenager. Now, I know technically the woman who played Borat's daughter was an adult when she was playing there. But in Rudy Giuliani's mind, all he knew was that she was a teenager, a minor. Yet that ain't gonna stop him literally getting caught with his hands down his pants. So from there, like Rudy Giuliani just had from there onward, he's just been like piled up with controversy after controversy after controversy, and not to mention all the different lawsuits that Rudy Giuliani is in for all his corrupted time, so much so to the point that he is just so piled up with lawsuits where analysts even say that if he would lose all of them, then it's over for Rudy. He would end up becoming homeless and he would literally lose everything. Now, before I fully go and dive into this, one thing that I gotta say that is actually pretty funny here is actually this Deadline article, because this is the one where they actually broke the news about all this. And one thing I do find funny is the selection of the picture for Rudy Giuliani. That out of all the photos of him, they gotta pick the one where his hair is literally dripping, where we see his dye hair is like just slowly but surely dripping on the side of him. And I remember when that news broke out, like that picture was shown and everybody was just making fun and like creating memes of the fact that Rudy Giuliani is starting to melt and the fact that he has to put on hair dye just to go and cover up the grays on his hair. And like, honestly, this is actually pretty funny. And I think like it kind of makes this article kind of perfect. Like, yes, you like, if you got to show a picture of Rudy Giuliani in trouble, you got to go and pick this one. And so with that said, I just need to go and first ask the big question. Why? Why is it that Rudy Giuliani had to be selected to appear in The Masked Singer? Like, the fact that he is such a controversial figure, with all the controversies that he has gotten himself into, with all the lawsuits and all the trouble that he is in, not to mention like even being in trouble with the United States Justice System, or the United States Justice Department, because of his involvement with January 6th. Why is it that he would get a break to go and appear in the freaking Masked Singer? And why does the Masked Singer need someone like Rudy Giuliani? Now, I know that technically this is not the first time that we've seen reality shows in recent years do something like this, where they would go and bring in controversial political figures onto their show in order to spice things up for the ratings. You probably remember back in 2019, one of Donald Trump's first press secretaries, Sean Spicer, who did a terrible job trying to cover Donald Trump's tracks or trying to defend him, like with the fact that he's just been lying to the press again and again and again, to the point where his career as Trump's press secretary did not last long, and he ended up getting fired. And from there, a few years later in 2019, as I said before, he would suddenly make an appearance on Dancing with the Stars, where suddenly he became a personality where, because of his involvement with Trump, that somehow considers him a star, and would go and normalize his behavior by showing him how he would go and dance. Now, technically, he didn't necessarily last long in the show, but still, his involvement with Dancing with the Stars, or his appearance in there, was considered to be pretty controversial. Not to mention the fact that this is not even the first time that we saw the Masked Singer bring in someone controversial, or even like a Republican politician. You probably remember a few years ago when they actually brought on board Sarah Palin to appear in The Masked Singer and be one of the contestants. Now, I know that technically Sarah Palin is not necessarily as controversial as any of the politicians that have a direct connection with Donald Trump. Like, I guess you could say her connection with Trump is a little bit more loose and a little bit more distant, but that doesn't change the fact that she is still a controversial figure on her own, and that, well, when she did appear, it did cause a lot of shocked reactions and a little bit of a backlash as well, but none that is in the magnitude of what we have seen right here by adding in Rudy Giuliani, where nowadays, like, yeah, maybe if he was brought in like probably 10 years ago, like maybe it would be justifiable to have him on board, where he was once a little bit more known as America's favorite mayor and stuff like that. But now that he is only known for his connections with Donald Trump and the corruption that he is in and all the trouble that he's in now, Like, it just makes no sense. It really does make me question, what is the reality show's, what is the reality show standard of someone who is famous? Well, like, what is the standard of being a celebrity to go and appear in these types of reality shows? I feel like nowadays, like, it has been severely lowered, or it's at the point where The Masked Singer is pretty much desperate for ratings, and they're looking for anything to go and grab people's attention. And they decided to go and pull off this kind of move by bringing on board Rudy Giuliani. And this is why I decided to go as far and to talk to a personal friend of mine. I talked to a buddy that I've known for a few years, and he's actually a major fan of these, well, not celebrity type reality shows, but he's a fan of reality shows. And to this day, like, he may not be a fan of, like, The Masked Singer, but he definitely still watches stuff like Survivor. And from time to time, like, when we would chat amongst each other, like, often he would bring up the subject of reality shows, and we would talk about that subject and what reality shows do we personally watch and stuff like that, or what we have watched in the past. So I went and asked him his opinion regarding the whole controversy, and to have, like, a different point of view on what is going on with this whole Rudy Giuliani thing and what The Masked Singer has done with that kind of move. And I will admit, what he told me was actually very interesting, because I'll say right now that he did initially agree with what Robin Thicke and Ken Jeong has done. He agreed for them to go and walk off and protest. He agreed that it was a definite bad move that Rudy Giuliani was in The Masked Singer, and he shouldn't have been in The Masked Singer. But what he did tell me is the fact that this is a situation where it really is a case where everybody loses with Rudy Giuliani's presence in The Masked Singer, because of the fact that, in a way, by bringing on board someone like Rudy Giuliani, they end up making The Masked Singer political. Because when you bring someone that is very controversial and someone who is directly linked in a subject matter that is extremely divisive, extremely divided, such as politics, then from there, no matter what the situation is, no matter what you do in this case, every action that you will do will make people upset. Where now, with Rudy Giuliani's involvement, people will take it a lot more personally, and they will take it a lot more emotionally in terms of what is happening. And there is no situation where you can lessen the damage and you'll make everyone happy, because no matter what you do, people will be upset. Rudy Giuliani's presence in The Masked Singer, you bet there will be people that will be pissed off. The fact that Rudy Giuliani was eliminated in one of the first episodes, that's going to piss people off. The fact that Ken Jeong and Robin Thicke walked off in protest, you know that's going to piss people off. The fact that Jenny McCarthy and Nicole Scherzinger did not walk off with Ken Jeong and Robin Thicke, that's going to piss people off. Like, no matter what you do, no matter what the case is, or even the audience that is involved, the audience that would boo Rudy Giuliani, that's going to piss people off. The people who would cheer that it is Rudy Giuliani, that's going to piss people off. No matter what you do, everybody involved in there is going to lose no matter what. The show loses, the judge loses, Rudy Giuliani loses, the audience loses. There's not a single situation where everyone can win. Because the thing is, with these types of reality shows, the whole purpose of them is supposed to be escapism. Like, purely and truly escapism, where audiences and people can take a break from the woes of reality to escape politics, to escape economics, to escape the harsh realities of the world, so that they can have their little moment of escapism, so that they could just go and enjoy celebrities singing on stage and have them guess who they actually are. So that's pretty much the whole point of it. It's not a moment where they should have politics or whatever, and regardless of what politics may be, left-leaning, right-leaning, center, or whatever, that should be excluded, because the whole point of these reality shows is for escapism. And when you bring in someone like Rudy Giuliani, who encompasses all these harsh realities, then that's going to be serious trouble. That's going to be highly controversial. You're kind of enforcing your politics into something that should not even be political in the first place. And from there, that's really going to break a lot. That's really going to that's really going to break and kill the mood for a lot of people out there. Now, I know that technically by this point, people will say that the only reason why The Masked Singer would do this is because of publicity. We know the old saying goes that there is no such thing as bad publicity, and you're pretty much free to do whatever you want, and as long as people will pay attention to this and it will boost their ratings, then that's what's gonna do the job. In fact, I'm sure the people at Fox are actually happy that I'm talking about this subject matter, because it gets people like me to go and talk about The Masked Singer. Well, that is technically true, and I would honestly not be surprised if one of the first episodes would end up getting a massive rating boost, because people want to see that whole reveal with Rudy Giuliani and to see Robin Thicke and Ken Jeong walk out. Like, I'm sure maybe that's going to work in terms of boosting up the ratings and to have people talk about The Masked Singer. But then in the long run, that's really going to be a true problem. How can you go and follow up from there? Because afterwards, I feel like this could be a situation where it's going to be very similar to the Ellen DeGeneres controversy, where after everything was revealed about Ellen DeGeneres and how she's such a terrible person and quite the opposite of how she presents herself on TV, Ellen DeGeneres was no longer considered cool, and following afterwards, like a few years, I think, that's when she announced that her show was canceled, where she pretty much decided to go and end off her really popular daytime talk show because, well, she was no longer considered cool. The ratings significantly dropped, and it was time for her to leave. And honestly, that's the part where I think in the long run, that's really going to screw The Masked Singer over, where The Masked Singer and its spin-off shows, like, it's no longer going to be considered cool because of what they pulled off with Rudy Giuliani, and people are just going to bail out from The Masked Singer. And from there, like, the ratings are going to significantly tank, and that's going to mark the end of The Masked Singer because they pulled off this move that just seems massively desperate. So that's one thing that I feel like, because of what we have witnessed with this major controversy, that's going to really kill the mood for many people, and they won't find any enjoyment. Like, they can no longer rely on The Masked Singer to be their form of escapism, so they'll move on to a different form of escapism where they can escape the harshness of reality, because they can't rely on The Masked Singer to do that for them if they're going to bring on board people such as Rudy Giuliani. And one more quick comment that I do want to add regarding this whole situation, what I find to be so messed up about it is, am I the only one who finds it so messed up with how the American judiciary system is going on right now, where you have these people who are pretty much in the midst of, like, these very serious crimes, and yet they're still out and about doing whatever the fridge they want. They're still doing, like, whatever they want to do in terms of their work, in terms of their influence. Like, they're pretty much free until, like, something has truly been found where they are 100% guilty. I understand the term of innocent until proven guilty, but I find this situation here, especially with the whole Rudy Giuliani thing, is just absolutely ridiculous. And Rudy Giuliani is not the only one. There are, like, several prominent American criminals out there that are pretty much in a very similar case. Like, one great example, Steve Bannon. I don't know why the fridge Steve Bannon is still out and about, that he's still free to do whatever he wants, despite the crimes that he has been committed, despite the heavy amount of subpoenas that have been charged by him, and his absolute refusal to cooperate with authorities. And yet he's still out and about spreading his white nationalism and still doing his podcast and still capitalizing on whatever he can. It's honestly ridiculous. This is a man that shouldn't be free. This is a man that should be detained, that should be imprisoned until the FBI and the Justice Department can get the true answers that they want from him, because the dude is fully committed to his white nationalism. He shouldn't be out and about spreading that far-right extremism beliefs onto the public. He shouldn't be doing what he's doing right now. Like, this guy is a full-on criminal. Why are we letting him do what he wants? And then there's another prominent example, Matt Gaetz. More and more, we have seen how this dude is a full-on sex trafficker and that he even has minors involved. And yet, the dude refuses to go anywhere. He's still being a politician. He's still working in Congress. He's still doing his job, influencing people with his brand of far-right nationalism. And yet, Matt Gaetz has been proven again and again to be a legitimate pedophile. So why is he still going out and about? Like, this guy, like, really, we have seen full-on evidence that this guy loves touching minors. He shouldn't be working in Congress. He shouldn't be influencing the American system right now. That is another guy that should be in prison, that this guy should be detained until the true answers can come out of what he has done. Again, this is a case where, like, innocent until proven guilty should not be applied here, and especially the case with Rudy Giuliani. Now, this is the one that I find to be so messed up with the amount of corruption that this guy has caused, with the amount of lawsuits that he is under, with how much trouble that he is in with the Justice Department, and yet he manages to get an opportunity to go out and about and appear in The Masked Singer. One thing I can guarantee you, you're going to be hearing this a lot on social media. People will be using this as a prominent example as to how cancel culture does not exist. Because despite all the troubles that Rudy Giuliani has done, apparently he's not canceled because he was still able to go and appear as a contestant in The Masked Singer. So that's just one commentary that I want to add, because really, the judiciary system is so messed up in terms of giving consequences to powerful people, in the fact that they're kind of not doing so until they're proven 100% that they are guilty. It's honestly ridiculous. These people shouldn't be free to do what they want, and Rudy Giuliani especially should not be involved with something like The Masked Singer. But either way, I feel like right now with The Masked Singer, I think like its time has commenced, and sooner or later, we are going to see The Masked Singer probably come to an end because, well, nowadays, because of what they have done with Rudy Giuliani, The Masked Singer ain't really cool anymore. It's not really a good form of escapism. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years' time, we're going to see The Masked Singer ultimately shut down. So that's just my commentary on the whole piece. I know, again, that I'm getting into more of these controversial stories, but I just need to like address this because, again, this is such a crazy story that has occurred, and it's just honestly bonkers to see like how low reality TV has really sunken by this point. Like, if you are at the point that you want to bring in a famous person who is famous for all the wrong reasons, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't have that show be on the air in the first place. I mean, like, seriously, it's pretty much at the point where, like, their definition of who is famous enough to be in a reality show is kind of warped. Like, if Ted Bundy or Charles Manson were alive today, I wouldn't be surprised if reality shows would even consider having them on board to appear in stuff like Dancing with the Stars. Like, Ted Bundy has murdered numerous of people, but can he murder the judges with his tango? Like, you know that they would pull stupid crap like that. So honestly, again, I know this is not animation related, but it is such a crazy story that I just had to talk about, especially with what this means regarding the current state of reality shows. So yeah, that is my entire piece regarding this whole thing with the Masked Singer controversy. And now I want to know from you guys. I would like to know your opinion on the entire Masked Singer controversy. What do you think about the factor of Rudy Giuliani being on board with the Masked Singer? Are you guys shocked about this? Are you more on the side of the Masked Singer that it's kind of okay that they did this? Are you more opposed to this? Let me know what you all think on this. All right, let's see what we got here. The Masked Singer was one of the shows that to get me through the pandemic, but this is a freaking slap in the face. We watch these shows to get away from politics. The Masked Singer has had controversial people as contestants, Caitlyn Jenner and Honey Boo Boo to name a few, but nothing like this. A lot of fans have campaigned to boycott season 7, or at least the first episode, myself included. As much as I could separate the art from the artist, this is an example where I have to draw the line. And yeah, I think honestly, like, as I said before, this is really a situation where, like, everybody loses. But the saddest thing about all this is that I think the biggest losers of all this is the fans. It's the fans, like the commenter that I just read. Because from there, they lost, because in a way, because of what they have done, they lost their escapism. They lost their source of joy, their source of fun, they lost their moment where they don't have to worry about the troubles of reality. And from there, they probably would have to go and move on to something else. And because of what happened, this is going to definitely pay the price in terms of the ratings of The Masked Singer, and eventually the entirety of The Masked Singer is going to be gone. So honestly, this is the part where I think it really does suck the most, and that is regarding the fans, because they're going to lose The Masked Singer, regardless if it's the entire show itself or what it means to them. Like, you know, that reliance that The Masked Singer can be fun for them is pretty much gone if they're going to bring on board controversial people such as Rudy Giuliani. Let's see now. I've only seen a couple of episodes of The Masked Singer, one of which, of course, being the Kermit episode, but all this, yeah, I don't blame Ken Jeong and Robin Thicke for being all nope. I mean, seriously, you have all the celebrities at your disposal and you pick this guy. I mean, it makes no sense to have him among guest stars like, I don't know, Rob Schneider as a guest? Oh, God, give me a moment, Matt. I need to take a page out of your book and scream like a possum for a sec. Yeah, that's the thing with The Masked Singer. And that's the thing with, like, these celebrity-based competition shows. They don't usually bring in, like, highly beloved celebrities. Like, you're not going to expect, like, Dwayne Johnson or Scarlett Johansson to appear unless it's to go and to promote this, like, big motion picture that's going to be coming soon. They usually go and, like, they go and, like, find, like, the bottom of the barrel to see, like, who would be available, you know? And yes, they would bring in people such as Rob Schneider, but yeah, like, it really is such a dumb move that they would go and bring in someone like Rudy Giuliani. Like, again, we get that from time to time, The Masked Singer would bring in controversial people, but why Rudy Giuliani? Like, seriously, I want to know from Fox directly, what was the thought process of bringing on board someone like him? Like, who was the one that thought this was a good idea? Let's see now. Let's see. I think at some point The Masked Singer is going to get canceled for being political. I am tired of TV shows always having to go political. It's even worse, animation is going political with both kids and adult animation in modern times. I wish TV shows and politics involvement need to stop. Okay, I think that's a little bit too extreme of a commentary because, like, I'm perfectly fine with shows that want to be political, but the thing is that there's always a time and place to be political. There are times when, yes, it should be okay to be political and to discuss about heavy subject matter. I myself, you guys know me that I am not shy to go into heavy political subject matter. Well, case in point, you probably have seen last week's episode when I did discuss about the mouse controversy or the Minnie Mouse controversy and stuff like that. But The thing is that, again, there is a time and place when it's okay to be political, and for stuff like The Masked Singer that is purely meant to be that's purely meant to be like this form of escapism, then yeah, at that point they shouldn't be political. Again, if shows want to be political, that's perfectly fine, but it has to go and make sense if they want to go and discuss about heavy subject matter such as racism or about the economy and stuff like that. You got to do so in a tasteful way and in a way that people should expect to go into heavy subject matter and to have like these kinds of thoughtful discussions. Because the thing is, if the only solution is to be ignorant about politics, then nothing is going to be resolved. You can't solve your solutions by sticking your head in the sand. Anyways, let's see what we got here. To be honest, I didn't really watch much of The Masked Singer. I only seen images and a few clips of the show, and the only memorable thing that I remember is when Kermit makes an appearance. After knowing that Rudy Giuliani is part of the show, it's a huge shock and a red flag. He used to be very cool back in the early days, but nowadays he's no longer a cool guy as much like with Ellen DeGeneres. I just hope The Masked Singer can move on from the whole mess. Rudy is more appropriate. Title should be America's Laffy. Yeah, I do get where you're going with it, but yeah, like hopefully, like that would be the best case scenario, is if they could find a way to like, you know, to like rebuild themselves or to find a way to like make things up for what happened, rather it be like some kind of major apology or something like that. But yeah, something better be done in order to fix this up, because right now The Masked Singer is facing a true PR nightmare that they're gonna have quite a hard time to get themselves out of. Let's see. In all honesty, I was hoping this rumor is proven untrue. When Sarah Palin was the bear in the past, she genuinely had a blast doing it, and no one seemed to mind her. I won't go into details on him, but does that stop me from enjoying the show? Of course not. The show is just a lot of fun for me, and I won't hold on to that anger. It doesn't do anyone a lot of good to hold on to that rage for so long, you know, but I just like The Masked Singer for their costumes. And yeah, like, I do get it. If you're capable of separating yourself from, you know, separating the art from the artist, then, you know, good on you. You can go and do that. And I mean, yeah, if you guys love The Masked Singer, then, like, this situation shouldn't go and stop you from truly enjoying it. I completely understand if there are some people that would no longer want to watch The Masked Singer because of what they pulled off right over here. But if there are those that want to still enjoy it and they can brush this aside so that they can maintain The Masked Singer in order for that to be their form of escapism, then that's perfectly fine too. They can go and absolutely go and do that. You know, like, a lot of people are different in terms of what they want to do and how they want to go and experience this. So, like, a lot of people will go and have different reactions, but I know that a lot of them right now is pretty problematic. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we move on to the next story. Despite seeing the clip briefly, I never watched The Masked Singer. I usually don't watch any cheaply made reality shows from Fox except something related to Gordon Ramsay's cooking show occasionally. But this here got my attention. My guess is the Fox Network's executive's idea for bringing him on board is just to boost ratings, and this does not work out. Bringing Rudy on the show was a mistake, and they should never pull a stunt like this. He should have been in prison for all I care. And that's kind of, yeah, and that's kind of the big thing. Like, I get it that, yeah, maybe they want to do it in order to boost ratings, but they still have to go and face the aftermath of it, of how people feel after that this did happen. There are going to be a lot of people that will question, what will this mean for the future of The Masked Singer? Are they going to continue to bring people like Rudy Giuliani on board? Are they going to bring in, like, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Are they going to bring on board Matt Gaetz or Ted Cruz or whatever? Like, there are going to be a lot of people who will have a bad taste afterwards, and that's the biggest problem. Like, yes, in the short run, they'll probably have a major boost in ratings, but in the long run, that's going to be a major obstacle that they may face, where it could end up costing them the entire show. Okay, so don't worry, guys. This is the only true controversial story that I will be talking about right over here. Or this is going to be the only story that would have some kind of connection related to politics. Now, as we go and move on to our next story, this is actually an announcement that actually happened today, and I feel like this is actually kind of an interesting story to talk about. It is related to a popular franchise that many are familiar with, but it looks like they want to go and have a second chance on the big screen. The first time around, let's be honest, it really isn't all that great. It really isn't all that necessarily popular with what they have put out. Well, it did become popular, but in a way for all the wrong reasons. But in this case right over here, well, they want to see if they could actually have a bit of a redemption arc. And what I will be talking about is regarding the Smurfs. Yes, Nickelodeon and Paramount have officially announced that they have signed a multi-picture deal with La Figue Belgium and IMPS in order to make multiple movies based on the Smurfs. And yes, this will be under Paramount Pictures and under Nickelodeon. In fact, they do have a little bit of an idea of what they want to do with the first movie that they want to produce, which, believe it or not, is actually going to be an animated musical that is already set for December 20th, 2024. And again, this is only going to be the first of many movies that's going to be to come with the Smurfs. And not just that, people, all this is only the beginning of what Nickelodeon wants to do with the Smurfs, because you guys probably know also that there is this new animated series that is going on Nickelodeon, and apparently it's going pretty popular for them. Like, it's actually going pretty well. In fact, it even said here on my source on Animation Magazine that apparently in the US, it is actually ranked among the top 5 animated series on cable with kids 2 to 11. Which is also why, on top of this announcement, with multiple movies with the Smurfs, there is indeed going to be a season 2 of the CG animated Smurf movies. Now, I actually do have a couple of quotes that I would like to read here. The first one is going to be from Ramsey Nato, the president of animation for both Paramount and Nickelodeon, who states right over here, Nickelodeon is the home to some of the world's most popular family franchises, and we are honored to add the Smurf to that roster. We're excited to tell a story that stays true to its origins, but with a Smurf-tastic musical twist that excites new audiences and builds on the Smurf franchise and universe of wonderful characters and stories. We also got another quote here from Veronique Culliford, the founder and president of La Figue and IMPS, and also the daughter of the original creator of the Smurfs. As she stated here, it is with great joy and pride that I welcome this new Smurfs film. I am truly excited with this wonderful partnership with the talented creative and the dynamic teams at Paramount Pictures, Nickelodeon Animation, and IMPS. I am convinced that this great collaboration will allow families around the world to immerse themselves in this unique universe of humor and extraordinary adventures. I have no doubt that my father, creator of these marvelous world-famous characters, would also be delighted with the continuation of his work. I look forward to seeing audiences gather together in the near future to enjoy this new adventure of the beloved Smurfs. So that is pretty much the big thing that is currently going on. It's the fact that Nickelodeon will indeed be working on a brand new animated Smurf movie, or Smurf movies to be precise. That this is what I'm talking about in regards of a second chance for the Smurfs, where they had their little thing going on with Sony Pictures Animation, but ultimately, it did not necessarily work out well, which is why they bailed out of Sony and they went with Paramount Pictures. Now, one thing that I will say is actually very interesting in all this is that in terms of the Smurfs' history, we kind of did go a little bit full circle here. we actually did go full circle in terms of the Smurfs' journey to go on the big screen, to go to Hollywood, and to be presented to millions of people in movie theaters and stuff like that. Because for those of you who don't know, back in the mid-2000s, originally, Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon actually wanted to go and make a fully animated Smurfs movie, and they were ready to go and actually produce that. But then suddenly, Sony Pictures Animation stepped in and they decided to go and buy the rights from Paramount because apparently things did not necessarily work out with the movie that they wanted to produce. So Sony ended up picking that up from Warner Brothers, and that's where ultimately we did end up with the 2011 Smurfs movie, which, let's be honest, I don't think many people are actually fans of. It did become a very successful movie, but the film itself, yeah, it is now known as one of those movies where it's the live-action animation hybrid that it's just not very good. It's based on a cartoon. It really did not work well, and the character designs, those character designs, yeah. The classic Peo design does not translate well when you want to try to go and make them realistic. It's a little bit cringy. Now, granted, I will say that Sony Animation did try to make things better. They tried to do a bit of a reboot by making a fully animated Smurfs movie with Smurfs Lost Village. And I will say that it definitely is an improvement from the live-action animation hybrids, but they did look a little bit, the movie itself is actually pretty bland. I mean, the animation was actually pretty solid. It was some of their best animation in recent years back then. But other than that, though, the movie itself was like, it really wasn't that memorable. It really was just like mediocre at best. It really was meh. It was a case where, like, yeah, the animation was great, but the script really had nothing to offer. And from there, well, unfortunately, it became a critical box office bomb. Debatably one of the biggest box office bombs that Sony Pictures Animation had to endure, because not only did that movie become a disaster, but they also lost the rights to the Smurfs, where it had no value anymore to Sony Pictures Animation, and that's why it, in a way, kind of went back to Paramount and Nickelodeon, where now they have their hands on it and they're able to go and do whatever animated projects, including the CG animated series that's on Nickelodeon. And in a way, funny enough, we are, and actually, like I said before, we have officially come full circle, where now they are back. The Smurfs are actually back with Paramount and Nickelodeon to go and produce an animated feature with them. It's kind of a very interesting history where, like, we see this moment where they have come back full circle, and now the Smurfs are fully in the hands of Nickelodeon. And in terms of what's going to be happening right now, the fact that we are going to be getting a brand new Smurf movie or a brand new lineup of Smurfs movies, well, in that regard, I don't know, honestly. Like, hearing that there is going to be more brand new Smurfs movies is just something that I don't necessarily feel sure if that's really something that I want. Now, granted, I will say that I have yet to fully see for myself the animated series, the brand new 2021 animated series that's on Nickelodeon. I haven't seen any episodes of it. I haven't heard the reactions, if it's actually something that's really good or if it's something really bad. It's just, honestly, in terms of my opinion on it, I can't fully say because I haven't fully seen any episodes. So I can't fully have a judgment in terms of, like, the Nickelodeon Smurfs, I guess you could go and put it, but hearing that there is going to be brand new Smurfs movies is just something that I'm not 100% sure, especially after what we just went through with Paramount, honestly. It's just something that I don't know if it's something that I truly want, if it's like a true necessity that we're ready to go and have the Smurfs back on the big screen, that we're ready to have like a brand new lineup of Smurfs movies. That is just something like, I really don't know. I mean, yeah, as a kid, I did grow up with the Smurfs. I actually did watch the Hanna-Barbera series, and I did read a little bit of the comics back in elementary school. But, you know, the Smurfs wasn't necessarily something that, like, I'm fully connected with. And I'm sure that there can be some ideas that that Paramount and Nickelodeon can fully develop with what they want to do with a new Smurfs movie. Like, maybe they'll find a way to, like, have these characters have more of a backstory. Like, maybe, like, we'll have, like, a brand new Smurfette adventure. Like, maybe something that could really expand the character much more than what we have seen in Smurfs The Lost Village. Or maybe we'll have, like, more of a backstory for people like Papa Smurf, or like, maybe, like, more development for characters like Jokey or Brainy or Brawny or any of those characters. Like, maybe we'll see more development with the Smurfs. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's, like, a lot of different ideas that we can do with the Smurfs, but it's just, right now, I'm just uncertain. Like, for now, like, I'm left with a bit of a bad taste of what we've experienced with the Sony Smurf movies. Like, they really did not go well, so it's hard for me to imagine right now how the Smurfs are going to be now in the hands of Paramount and now with the hands of Nickelodeon. Now, granted, I will say that often Nickelodeon can do a pretty good job when it comes to taking already existing properties, especially if it is their own, and translate them on the big screen. They do have a pretty solid history of doing a good job with it. Not only with some of the SpongeBob movies, I myself definitely adored the original SpongeBob movie back in 2004. I also really did like Sponge Out of Water. That one is also really good. And also, I was surprised to find that I really did enjoy Paw Patrol the movie. And if that can be a reference to how the quality can be with what they can do with the Smurfs, then maybe they are in good hands. Maybe this could actually turn out pretty well, especially if they're going to go in a direction that they haven't really gone into before, like they're going to do a full-on musical, then maybe there might be some kind of potential. Like, maybe there might be a new direction that they can go with the Smurfs in order to give something that is both familiar and fresh at the same time. But honestly, I just don't know. In my mind, it's hard for me to imagine what they can do in order to produce a really good Smurf movie after what we went through with the Sony animation films. It's just honestly very tough. But still, does that mean I am opposed to having more Smurfs movies? Absolutely not. I am honestly curious to know what Paramount and Nickelodeon wants to do with them. I am curious to see how they can go and actually pull off these new Smurfs movies. And maybe it could work out, maybe it won't, but ultimately we will have to just wait and see. And I think that's my biggest opinion on this. It's just, we're given something that I feel like we're just gonna have to wait and see with how this ultimately goes. And again, we will have to wait a long time until we see the comeback of the Smurfs in movies, because the next one won't be coming out until December 20th, 2024. So we still have like just under 3 years, actually. I mean, technically it would be 2 years, but we are at the start of 2022 and this is coming out at the end of 2024. So I think it's safe to say under 3 years sounds a bit more correct. But yeah, ultimately for me, I think this is a major wait and see kind of scenario. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now it's time I want to ask you, how do you feel about the comeback of the Smurfs? And are you guys excited to see more Smurfs movies? Have you, and especially, I want to know from the opinions of people who have seen the Nickelodeon Smurfs series. Are you guys excited that there are going to be movies based on that show? Do you think the Smurfs are now in good hands with Paramount and Nickelodeon? Let me know what you think about this. All right, let's see what we got. This definitely has a lot of potential. While I'm not a big fan of the Smurfs, I honestly can definitely see the Smurfs get a second chance on the big screen and are actually being looked at in a more positive light now. Also, I find it funny that we have a bit of a reverse situation with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, where it was originally supposed to be made by Sony Pictures, but then eventually moved to Paramount. Yeah, that is actually true. That you do actually have a good point, because in a way you could say it's kind of like a bit of a spiritual trade-off in a sense, where well, actually no, because Sonic was originally intended to be made at Sony, but then it moved to Paramount. Where in the case right over here with the Smurfs, it started at Paramount, then it went to Sony, and then it went back to Paramount. So yeah, like, it's kind of a bit of a different scenario, because they went on a different track where it literally went on a full circle. Let's see, what else do we have here? I'm like that one guy who actually likes Smurfs of the Lost Village, so I'm pretty curious about this. Granted, there's a good chance that it could suck and all that curiosity was for moot, but if they get the right cast, crew, and story for it, I could see it probably working. So what I'm saying is, don't get Raja Gosnell. Like, seriously, that's a given. But one thing's for sure, we do need Jack McBrayer back as Clumsy. I mean, he was legit perfect for the role. And I mean, honestly, you never know. And that's one thing, even though I haven't seen the show, that's one thing I've noticed that's actually very curious regarding the animated series on Nickelodeon, because there seems to be some elements from the Lost Village that did carry on with the Smurfs, like into the new series. Like even the girl here, like like you see the blue hair girl with the pink dress. Like, I do recall she was originally from Smurfs the Lost Village, or she was most prominently present in Smurfs the Lost Village. So the fact that we do have more female characters thanks to Smurfs the Lost Village, well, at that point, maybe we could see that influence carry on onto the upcoming Smurfs movies. Let's see now. What else do we have here? What other comments? Okay. I remember the Smurfs as a kid, and by this day, I remember the live-action movies. The Hanna-Barbera cartoons was Smurf. The live-action movies were Smurf-worthy, and the animated movie was more Smurf. Though I am pretty Smurfed about this new animated Smurfs movie, even though I never Smurfed the animated Smurf series, because I'm into the Hanna-Barbera cartoon. And why do I keep saying Smurf every time? Smurf, Smurf, Smurfity, Smurf, Smurf, Smurf. Okay, then. Well, that's a lot of Smurf you said there. I don't know if I want to come back and see another Smurf movie after going through the live-action movies and the animated film made by Sony, although I prefer the latter more. It left me a bad taste and a bad impression of wanting to like the Smurfs. If Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon come up with something good, then I'll give it a second chance. I just hope it doesn't suck. Yeah, exactly. I think I'm on the same fence as you there, dude. I honestly feel a bit the same, where I don't know if I really want this, but I don't want to say that I don't want this at all. It's just that, I'm mostly speaking by, like, my experience with the other Smurf movies, where I do feel a little bit more pessimistic with the idea of another Smurf movies. But then again, let's just hope for the best that Nickelodeon and Paramount can prove us wrong. Let's see. What other comments do we have here? I think I'll go and read one more before we move on to the next one. Let's see. My thoughts about this is that I hope the Smurfs will have a fresh new start with Nickelodeon. I hope their new animated film will be Smurfing better than the live-action film. The live-action one was a giant Smurfing ad movie where it's definitely cringy. It has definitely cringy jokes and uncanny CGI. The advertisement was forced and terrible. Remember when Grouchy fell in love with the green M&M? It was creepy. I haven't seen the show, but I have to wait and see. Yeah, like, oh my god. I remember, like, watching that first movie. It was just pure cringe. I'll say right now that I have actually yet to see the sequel, but honestly, I'm not really interested in watching the sequel because it's the sequel to the 2011 Smurfs, and if that one sucked, the sequel definitely that one definitely sucks as well. And I haven't heard good things about that sequel, so honestly, I'm not really interested in seeing it. But yeah, so honestly, at this point, I understand the pessimism of the idea of more Smurf movies, but let's hope for the best. Maybe like a brand new studio in charge of it is exactly what the Smurf needs in order to redeem its reputation for being movie stars. All right, so let's go and move on to our next story. And speaking of Sony Pictures, well, sadly, this is a little bit of unfortunate news because this was actually a project that many people were highly anticipated for. And a lot of people really wanted to actually check this out. In fact, debatably, it used to be one of Sony Animation's most anticipated projects, but sadly, it ain't actually happening. So let's go and move on to our next story where sadly, let's talk about the cancellation of the Boondocks reboot. Now, before I go into this, let me just give you a quick rundown of this entire situation. So you probably remember back in 2019, after everybody was celebrating Sony Animation for their achievement with what they have done with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I believe it was in the Annecy International Animation Festival, I believe it was during that, where Sony Pictures Animation actually made the announcement that they were going to be working on a reboot of the Boondocks and that they are going to be collaborating with the creator of the series and the creator of the Boondocks in general, Aaron McGruder, to go and create a brand new show that would be at least 2 seasons for HBO Max, and it would even start off with a 50-minute special to actually bring back the Boondocks to the modern times. In fact, in my source here on Deadline, it actually does describe the narrative of what would be going on. As it states here, HBO Max's new Boondocks would have followed the adventures of self-proclaimed civil rights legend Robert Grandad Freeman and his 2 rambunctious grandsons Huey and Riley. The family has recently moved to an idyllic community in the suburban Maryland, only to see it taken over by the tyrannical Uncle Ruckus and his bizarre neo-fascist regime. Life under Ruckus turns out to be an everyday struggle to survive. So they pretty much had an idea of what they wanted to do. They got a whole plan of what they want, plus the fact that it would be on HBO Max, it would have 2 seasons, it would be the grand return of the Boondocks thanks to the help of Sony Pictures Animation. But here's the problem though. The Boondocks never really did return to HBO Max, or never really returned at all. The fall 2020 50-minute special never actually happened, and the only updates that Sony supplied, or any updates at all that happened, was the fact that this project was just continuously delayed. It was delayed after, it was just delayed again and again and again, until inevitably, just recently, one of the actors, specifically Cedric Yarbrough, who voiced Tom Dubois in the series, actually had a chat in the Geek Set podcast where they talked with the host, Rudy Strong, and he pretty much confirmed that it was pretty much all over, where he stated, "I hate to say this right now, the show is not coming back. We've been wanting to do the show and Sony, and they decided they're going to pull the plug. Hopefully one day we'll be able to revisit it. I just wish the show was coming back." And probably the only small piece of silver lining is the fact that technically Sony did state that they are currently evaluating other options for the project. They're not necessarily giving up on the Boondocks. Excuse me about that, folks. Yeah, as I was saying, they're not necessarily giving up on the project, but then again, this initial plan of having this animated reboot with Sony Pictures Animation, well, ultimately, that's just not gonna happen. And from there, the reactions that I have seen, honestly, they have been pretty mixed. Like, for some people, like, they were actually pretty happy with it. Like, they saw the news and they were like, "Oh, that's great. We can finally leave the Boondocks alone." Especially after the 4th season, or the last season of the Boondocks, which was said to be, well, pretty bad. In fact, it was because of how the quality of the show significantly dipped season after season. Well, maybe not necessarily season after season, but the later seasons just got progressively worse, to the point where Adult Swim ultimately decided that they just got to pull the plug. It was best to just let go of the show and not let it continue, because, well, people were just getting less and less interested with the Boondocks, and trying to revive it, there was that chance that technically, well, the Boondocks is just not going to be as good as what we got with the original series, especially like at its prime, at its heyday. Like, the show can be absolutely amazing. Like, this is one of those shows, like, it's not afraid to be political, and my God, the best moments is when they do get political, and when they do call out the bullcrap that is currently happening with some social issues. Like, not afraid to call out racism, or not even afraid to call out, like, the massive hypocrisy that can be within the black community. And not to mention that if you have watched episodes of the Boondocks, you'll notice that there is kind of like this running gag where somehow the show has this massive hatred for BET. Like, I kid you not, like, go watch a few episodes and you'll find that there is always at least one episode where they constantly slam BET. It's not a thing. It's not something I'm making up. It's actually something that does happen to the Boondocks. Ask a Boondocks fan and they will tell you the same, that, yeah, they always knock on BET no matter what. And not to mention also that it probably is for the best, especially after the passing of John Witherspoon, the voice of Granddad. And in the series, he is a very notable and highly beloved character. And he's just one of those characters that it's going to be hard to truly replace, because a big part of what made Granddad so lovable in the series is because of John Witherspoon's performance. And I don't think there really is anyone who can actually properly replace him and actually do justice to the character. Like, even if you bring in a highly beloved veteran actor such as either Phil LaMarr or Kevin Michael Richardson, they wouldn't do justice to what John Witherspoon has done to Granddad. So it's probably for the best that we leave the show alone and we leave Granddad's performance be, so that no one can just immediately go and replace John Witherspoon. But then there are those also that are a bit disappointed of the fact that the Boondocks did get canceled, because, you know, honestly, in this day and age, it would be nice to see the Boondocks come back, especially when, like, we live in a heavily political age where, like, everything is so divided and, like, culture wars can be done so easily, just like in a snap, where, like, we would need, like, people, we do need characters, and we do need shows like the Boondocks to be the voice of reason, to give us a little bit of a reality check, and to make us realize about our own actions and what is currently happening with society. It would be nice to see the Boondocks return, and I do get the idea of having the Boondocks come back in this modern age, because, like, this current political climate that we are in right now, it would be perfect for the Boondocks to come back and put in their piece to call out the bullcrap that is currently happening, regardless if it would make people upset or not. And that's, like, one of the truly admirable things about the Boondocks. Again, it's the fact that they are political and how they are so unapologetic about it, regardless of whomever they would offend. I mean, keep in mind, like, yes, it is, like, it was a very controversial show. In fact, debatably, it was one of the most controversial shows on television, but it was controversial for all the right reasons, and for the reasons that made people love the show in the first place. Like, we would love to see that come back, but sadly, it doesn't seem like it's something that could occur. But then there is also another reason. And some people are also mentioning that there is another one. There is another reason. It's not just John Witherspoon that is gone, but there is also Ed Asner, who also played a prominent character. I almost forgot about that. That is true. Like, now that we don't have Ed Asner, it's disappointing that, like, we have more and more of these actors that can no longer come back and reprise their roles. So yeah, that is also an additional factor to that. But for me personally, I feel like there kind of is an additional reason that not many people, honestly, I feel like they are talking about. And I feel like this could honestly play a significant factor as to why this version of the Boondocks in the first place is no longer happening. And honestly, I feel like it has to do a little bit with the involvement of Sony Pictures Animation. I feel like because they were attached to the project, the entirety of this Boondocks reboot would not fly. Now, keep in mind, again, this is just my theory, and I could totally be wrong about this, but I just feel like nowadays, I don't know about you, but I feel like Sony Pictures has no idea what to do with Sony Pictures Animation. And it was especially prominent back in 2021, where it really does feel like Sony Pictures is just distancing themselves from Sony Pictures Animation. Now, you guys know that this is something that I have talked about again and again in the podcast, especially back in 2021, where I feel like there's just something off with the current relationship that Sony Pictures has with Sony Pictures Animation, where it feels like Sony Pictures is still adamant and still passionate about animation, but not necessarily with Sony Pictures Animation per se, especially when they've been announcing projects that they would do without Sony Animation, whether it be the Faust series, or that they would start distributing animated films without the help of Sony Pictures Animation, which is the case with the Garfield movie starring Chris Pratt. Yes, that is a movie that's not made by Sony Pictures Animation, but Sony Pictures themselves is distributing. Not to mention the fact that we also had the Peter Rabbit sequel, Peter Rabbit the Runaway, where the first was from Sony Animation, but not the sequel. And not to mention the fact that they would keep mentioning that Sony Pictures takes pride in the fact that they would release their movies exclusively to theaters and not just on streaming and digital. There might be a few exceptions, like maybe Cinderella and stuff like that, but for the most part, they would release their movies on the big screen. Except, however, that's not the case with their animated films. That's not the case with either Mitchell's vs. the Machines, with Vivo, with Wish Dragon, or even just recently with Hotel Transylvania Transformania. In fact, a couple of those were promised to be released on the big screen, but then they had to bail out and be released on like either Netflix or HBO Max. So honestly, I don't know. I feel like there's just something that feels off, that more and more Sony Pictures just wants to be more distant from Sony Pictures Animation. And I feel like maybe if that is actually the case, then maybe the reason why this got canceled is because Sony Pictures wants to have a bit of a restart with the Boondocks idea, but without Sony Pictures Animation. And Amazon Prime. Did I say something else? I don't know. Did I say something different? I don't know. Maybe I was wrong on something, or maybe I did mess up. But anyways, as I was saying, yes, in the case right over here, and HBO Max. So sorry about that, folks. Okay, yeah, so either on Netflix or Amazon Prime. I don't know. Maybe my head was still on this whole Boondocks thing, you know? Like, it really, yeah, sorry, that was my bad. It really was like, you know, it really was that kind of moment. I apologize, folks. Okay, that's not the case right over here. So yeah, going back into this, like probably I was just thinking HBO Max because technically this Boondock series was supposed to be for HBO Max. So yeah, that was a fail on my part, and I do apologize. But back to what I was talking about. Yes, I do feel like maybe the significance with Sony Pictures Animation, I feel like that might have played a significant factor as to why they want to let it go, because maybe they want to continue the Boondocks, but without Sony Pictures Animation's involvement. Now, again, I could totally be wrong on this, and this is just my personal theory, and I'm only speaking as an outsider who's just looking at it from like the benches regarding the whole animation industry. And I could totally be wrong. Maybe like Sony Pictures still has a great relationship with Sony Pictures Animation, and they're still collaborating together greatly, and there might be plans to really reboot Sony Pictures Animation as a brand, as a franchise per se, in the veins of Disney or DreamWorks or Illumination Entertainment. Maybe there is a plan. Like, I would be more than happy to hear someone working at Sony Pictures Animation tell me otherwise, that maybe there actually is a plan for Sony Animation to have a full-on reboot. I would love to know, like, what's happening on the inside, because for me, I just have, like, a lot of doubts. Like, from an outsider's perspective, I just feel like there's just something off with the relationship between, like, Sony Animation and Sony Pictures. It's like seeing a couple that they're still together, but you can't help but feel like they're on the brink of a breakup or something like that. But again, I know maybe it's just me, but it's just, I just feel like there's just something about it that feels completely off. But anyways, back to what I was talking about with this whole Boondocks series. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of a bit of a mixed feeling on this, where, yeah, on one hand, I do feel like it's a little bit disappointing that they're not coming back, especially in this day and age. It would be the perfect opportunity for the Boondocks and for, for the Freemans to actually do come back and put their commentary on the whole situation with, with social media, with the current state of politics, with cryptocurrency and all that stuff. They would be perfect to put their opinion piece on this. But then again, I don't blame people if they're perfectly fine with this being canceled, especially the fact when there might be that chance that we could have, like, the later seasons again where the quality is just not as good, and especially with people such as John Witherspoon and Ed Asner no longer with us. It's just a situation where, yeah, maybe it's for the best that Sony doesn't really do anything with the Boondocks, unless, like, maybe they want to do, like, a live action series of the Boondocks. That could legit be possible, and that could have a lot of opportunities. But for now, well, maybe for now, it's probably for the best to leave the Boondocks alone. Who knows? Who knows? Like, there's a lot of different reactions, but I would like to know from the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask you, what do you think about the whole Boondocks situation? How do you feel about Boondocks being canceled? Do you feel like it's probably for the best, or are you disappointed that the Boondocks is canceled? Let me know what you all think on this. Let's see. Oh, I haven't read you yet. Okay, let's see here. This is sad for those who are looking forward to the Boondocks reboot. This news came at the wrong time during Black History Month, February. I heard the reboot was supposed to have the same animation style as Spider-Verse when the concept art was leaked. Also, Sony Pictures Animation also has the Young Love series in development for HBO Max, so I hope that won't get scrapped. By the way, do the video on the top 10 canceled animated films. Okay. Yeah, and that is true. You do have a good point. Technically, this is not the only animated series at Sony Animation that is in development. They, technically, there is still that Young Love series that is based on the Hair Love short, and I would be very interested to check that out. And, like, honestly, I love Young Love. I think that is my favorite Sony Animation project, even more so than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or at least distributed from Sony Pictures Animation. It's just such a beautiful series. Oh my god, it's such a great short. Oh my god, it's the kind that really got my heart and, like, would have me burst into tears. It really is that good. But honestly, it's very interesting with, like, the current situation with Sony Animation and, like, how they're kind of but not really trying to get into animated shows, because, yeah, like, technically when it comes to Young Love, when it comes to the whole Young Love series, it is true that with them, we haven't heard anything from that series yet. We haven't heard any, like, major updates, and we don't know if that thing is still going on or if it's ultimately scrapped or anything like that. So it is true that technically we are seeing, like, it's kind of in that same situation with the Boondocks reboot from before, where it's kind of in that limbo situation where we don't even know if it's actually happening. And even with Sony Animation, we don't know if, like, if making animated shows really is something that they want to pursue, especially, well, how they've been doing right now with their animated series is not necessarily that great per se. I can't say that it was a complete failure because their shows are still going on, but then again, not many people are necessarily talking positively about either the Hotel Transylvania series or especially the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs series. So from there, I honestly don't know. Maybe Young Love is still happening, maybe not, but it's kind of like a confusing situation with the whole case with Sony Animation. Okay. Let's see here. Watch closely. You're about to experience a chat wall moment. Yeah, that was a weird quote to start things off, but I just love that scene. But bottom line, The Boondocks was a fantastic show. So I'm really disappointed that they won't be coming back for an encore. Maybe someday they will, but right now, it doesn't seem likely. And as such, this is so sad, Alexa. So this is so sad. Alexa, play F Granddad. I don't actually have Alexa here. Oh my god, I would be so pissed if I do have Alexa in my area. I would just do a joke. Alexa, play F Granddad. No, I don't mean that literally. Ah, son of a bitch. You're just lucky that I don't have Alexa. Okay, let's see what else we have here. I am kind of conflicted with this announcement. On one hand, I think it's for the best to leave the Boondocks alone and just move on, but on the other, it's kind of disappointing that they aren't bringing back to make things up for the 4th season. And with the decision to cancel the series, it's not out of the ordinary where TV show revivals get canceled, like when Disney decided to cancel and scrap the Lizzie McGuire reboot for Disney+. That is technically true. And I mean, like, yeah, it is unfortunately very common that a lot of shows would come and go. It's just rare that we would have a show that was highly anticipated and then suddenly, boop, it's no longer happening. You know, it's just like a bit of a disappointment from there. Let's see now. With how well known the show is for its political criticisms, it is quite sad for those who look forward for this reboot. It almost feels like we need something like The Boondocks nowadays to critique all the madness that is happening in recent years. Exactly! And The Boondocks is one of the great examples of why cartoons should actually be political, because they can lead to some great results. Just like what we saw. Like, one thing I will say, one thing I do recommend watching is to watch the Martin Luther King episode. Like, that one was fantastic. It was a very controversial one, but it still stands as like one of the best episodes that the Boondocks has to offer. And it is such a great one of how it got political and not even afraid to, like, you know, to criticize the current political climate and even the problems that were within the Black community. So honestly, it would have been very interesting. And especially, it would have been really fascinating to see, like, the Boondocks' take on the whole Black Lives Matter situation. Now, that would be something that would have been worthwhile. Let's see. What other comments do we have here? It's a shame that the Boondocks reboot is not moving forward for HBO Max, as I really enjoyed the first 3 seasons of the original series, although I didn't see the 4th season at all since I heard bad things about it. Lucky you. It would have been nice to see that show tackle heavy subject matter, including pandemics. I don't know what's going on between Sony Pictures and Sony Animation, but I hope they are doing okay between both studios. Again, like, I'm only just saying right now, and I would be more than happy to hear from someone working at Sony Animation to tell me otherwise, that things are still going okay. I'm only speaking from an outsider perspective, that it just seems a little bit off with the current relationship that we are seeing from both Sony Animation and Sony Pictures. All right, I'll read one more comment before we move on to our next story. Do we have another one? Yes. I never watched The Boondocks, but I did know its cultural significance when it comes to talking about serious topics such as politics and society. After hearing that Sony canceled it, I felt like it's for the best that the show wouldn't come back because 2 actors passed away. It would be awesome to see how the Boondocks dealt with current situations, and I would have loved to see how they can how they can handle NFTs. But regardless, the Boondocks still has a great legacy. Exactly. You know, and that's one positive thing that we can say about this is that, well, at least we still have the original Boondocks series, and that show is still absolutely great. or at least the first 3 seasons of it. Alright, so with that said, now it's time we're going to go and move on to our next story right here. And with the next one, well, it is a series. We did talk about a series that Sony lost, but now we're going to talk about a series that Sony gained. And with our next one, it is technically a series that is based on, well, technically a Sony animation property, since they did make a couple of movies based on them. But now it is time that we are going to go and discuss about the new series based on Yeah, I know. I made a really derpy version of the Goosebumps theme song. I could continue, like I could include the dog part, you know, like bark, 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 bark. You know, just to add that section right there. All right, but anyways, let's go back to what I'm talking about. Yes, there is indeed going to be a brand new Goosebumps series. Now, yes, we already know that Sony Pictures wanted to make a Goosebumps series for a while. In fact, it was ever since April 2020 that they have announced that they wanted to do a Goosebumps series that would be based a little bit more on the 2015 and the 2018 movie. But then just recently, Disney took a look at what Sony was doing and they were like, you know what, that's pretty cool. We want that in our streaming service. And thus, Disney Plus has officially announced that they have ordered 10 episodes for Goosebumps to go and appear on Disney Plus. In fact, from there, the original director of the first Goosebumps movie, Rob Letterman, is actually going to be working on this as well, where he and Nick Stroller are going to be involved as writers and executive producers. And on top of that, Rob Letterman is also going to be directing the first episode of the movie. And on top of that, by the way, we actually do have a bit of a plot line of what this Goosebumps series is going to be. And it's probably going to be a little bit more different than what we had back in the 90s, specifically the 1996 series, where it states here, the series follows a group of 5 high schoolers who unleash supernatural forces upon their town and must all work together, thanks to and in spite of their friendship, rivalries, and past with each other in order to save it, learning much about their own parents' teenage secrets in the process. So, as you could tell, the plot line is going to be a little bit more linear. We will have a bunch of recurring characters, including the main ones, not just like the familiar ones from Goosebumps. And like I said, it's going to be more in line with what we had before with the movies, with the 2015 movie and the 2018 movie. Now, from there is no official confirmation regarding when the series is going to be coming out on Disney Plus, but I just want to also mention that technically this is not the first time either that Disney Plus managed to adapt something from R.L. Stine. You probably remember back October of last year where they actually did some adaptations, or they did a series adaptation of R.L. Stine's Just Beyond. So probably with that connection right there, they actually decided, why not? Let's also have more R.L. Stine stuff on Disney Plus, and that's why they have Goosebumps. So first off, one thing that I do want to mention is that I have yet to actually see the second Goosebumps movie, but I remember watching the first one. I remember that I did watch the first Goosebumps movie, the one with Jack Black, where he played R.L. Stine, and he also played, he also voiced Slappy. And honestly, this is one of those cases where I actually have this love-hate relationship with the movie, because there are some aspects that I thought they were awesome, they were a lot of fun, and, you know, they were very enjoyable. But there are also some other aspects that I absolutely loathe, that I really hated. Now, on one hand, there are some parts in the movie where they were really great. They were actually a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed Jack Black, and anything that does relate to Goosebumps, rather it be the CG work that they have done, or rather it be the makeup or the monsters, the characters that are directly based on the Goosebumps books, I think those ones, they are awesome. They actually do make this a lot of fun and make it a pretty enjoyable Halloween movie. But when it comes to the elements that are made more exclusively for the feature itself, when it comes to the teenage kids and stuff like that, and when it comes to the plot line revolving around them, good God, I hated it. Oh, and thank you very much, Gresham Inc., for the subscription. But as I was saying, yes, I freaking hated the kids. I hated the plot line with them. They are so badly written. They are so cringy. They are so detestable. It's just, there's nothing positive that I could say about those characters, and they really did make the experience simultaneously frustrating. In fact, I would even go as far and say that the first 30 minutes of the Goosebumps movie is a utter waste of time. So that's why I want to say that I do have this love-hate relationship, because there are some parts that I really did enjoy. They were a lot of fun, and I had a blast every time I see like Jack Black or the Goosebumps characters appear. But then there are also some parts that I absolutely hated, and they were like not only some of the worst parts of the movie, but they were also some of the worst things that Sony Animation has done. So that's why it's kind of like very conflicting. And again, I have not seen the sequel to the movie. I haven't really heard good things about it. So like, I'm not really in a rush to go and watch that one. But yeah, and also on top of that, I just want to go and add that, yes, actually, as a kid, I remember like when I would go to the library, I was always fascinating seeing the weird, like creepy cover art that they would do in those books. And on top of that, from time to time, I would actually go and watch the anthology series, like considering that it was from the late 90s. Yeah, from time to time, I would actually go and catch them on TV. So from there, with all that said, when I heard that Disney is going to do this Goosebumps series, or that Disney is going to be collaborating with Sony in order to have this Goosebumps series for Disney Plus, there is honestly a part of me that does actually laugh. That I kind of find it to be like kind of a fun coincidence, because from here, it's like, oh man, you know, like there is this irony, or like there's this kind of coincidence where I feel like it's kind of nice to actually see Goosebumps coming back to Disney, where we see characters like Slappy return into the Disney realm. And I know some of you might be a little bit confused, like, what do you mean, like, Goosebumps coming back to Disney? Was there a previous history of Goosebumps that they had with Disney before? Well, funny enough, yes, and this was something that I remember seeing firsthand, and it was honestly kind of like this strange little oddity, because back actually around the same time as the Goosebumps series in the late 1990s, I believe in 1998 to be precise, there was at one point that there was actually a Goosebumps show at Disney's MGM Studios, or now known today as Disney's Hollywood Studios, in Walt Disney World. And yes, what you are seeing here is actually a real thing. It is, like, this was a very temporary show. It was only on, like, for a very short while, just in 1998, where at Disney's Hollywood Studios, or Disney MGM Studios, they actually had this, like, this little family-friendly horror show of Goosebumps. And in there, they actually have mascots of characters that are that were from the Goosebumps book. Like, you'll see, like, there's the Mummy character. They actually have Slappy, and they have that weird this weird angry hamster character that would ooze out Nickelodeon slime on his mouth. But yes, this was actually a thing that did happen. So it was called it was actually called the Goosebumps Horrorland Fright Show. And like and they actually did make like merchandise for it, and like you would see like you have people interacting with the mascots of it, and like you would see several characters that would go and make an appearance, and like here's the stage itself where it's kind of like presented as like this messed up carnival, and they would bring in like kids from the audience, and they even have like little clips of it. I don't know if it's long, but oh, okay, so it is a little bit long technically, but here, actually, I'll go over here. Yeah. Okay, I think this is just a commercial, so let's go and have a quick listen, actually. Why the fridge not? So, you know, let's go and have a little listen to this.
And a Christmas celebration with the creepiest characters this side of Horrorland are coming your way.
Yoo-hoo! I'm here at the annual Goosebumps Fright Show Christmas party, and it's a weird one. No thanks, I'm allergic to monster blood. Oh, sweet. Oh, well, that would make a lovely centerpiece. Oh, nothing like rats and sauerkraut. No, you know, I usually don't kiss giant hamsters on the first date. Merry Christmas to all. Gotta go.
Hi, happy holidays, everybody. I'm R.L. Stein, and I'm here with some members of my special family. Slappy, Cuddles, the Executioner, and Prince Koru. From our Goosebumps family to yours, happy holidays.
Oh my god, you never thought you would see this, but that was a real thing. That was a legit thing that happened, and even I'm surprised that there was even a Christmas special that did happen. Yes, the Goosebumps were there to say Merry Christmas at Walt Disney World, and even R.L. Stein was saying Merry Christmas. You know, we honestly need a list of like the weirdest characters. That would actually make a very interesting video. Honestly, I just, you know, I don't know why, but it's like, this idea just like popped in my head. It's like, I know what to do. Honestly, the top 10 okay, maybe this is something that's already been done, but like the top 10 weirdest characters that appeared at the Disney parks. Like, honestly, this would actually be interesting, especially like when we got stuff like this, like say, like we got Goosebumps characters saying, oh yeah, like we got Goosebumps characters saying Merry Christmas at Walt Disney World. And especially like the fact that they made mascot characters. And one thing I was surprised to see is like, even with Slappy, how articulate, like you look again, like how articulate the Slappy mascot is. It's actually, you know, I was actually surprised, like like that one can actually move.
Hi, happy holidays, everybody. I'm R.L. Stein, and I'm
honestly, okay, this I can't get past that. I'm sorry, folks. I cannot get past like a Walt Disney World Christmas special where you got freaking R.L. Stein coming in saying, hi, happy holidays. It's like, what? That was a thing that happened, folks.
here with some members of my special family. Slappy.
Yeah, like you see, like the Slappy mascot is actually pretty articulate. So that one I find pretty surprising to see. But anyways, as I was saying, like the whole point of this is that yes, Disney actually did have a history with Goosebumps, oddly enough, and it was at Walt Disney World. So that's why I find to be, you know, it's kind of a coincidence to see that somehow Goosebumps found its way to come back to Disney, even if it is from the help of Sony Pictures here. And I will say, when it comes to this movie in particular, or when it comes to this series in particular, I don't know. Like, on one hand, I do see the great potential that they would have here. I could see the potential that they would have, especially with all the crazy ideas and like and especially the campiness of what they can do with a Goosebumps series. But then again, if it's going to be something that might be a little bit more like what we had with the movies, especially when we do have Rob Letterman being involved with the entire project, both as the writer and the director of the first episode, for me, it's like, I don't know. It's just like, ultimately, I think it's more of a wait and see kind of thing. I don't necessarily have high expectations, but if it is enjoyable and if it can really stay true to the spirit of Goosebumps, and especially like if especially if the main characters themselves, the high schoolers, if they can actually be tolerable, if they can be enjoyable, then honestly, I think it can be worthwhile, because I do trust the people at Sony and Rob Letterman that they could actually do great things with the already existing characters of Goosebumps. But if they can manage to improve upon those high schoolers, if they can make them better, or if at the very least they can make them tolerable, then maybe we could actually have something worthwhile with this Goosebumps series. So yeah, overall, maybe this could be good, but I just find it funny and coincidental that we do see, we see Goosebumps coming back to Disney. All right, so with that said, I would like to go and ask, I would like to know your thoughts. How do you feel about Goosebumps coming back to Disney with a brand new series? Are you guys excited to see this series? Do you think this has potential? Or are you a little bit more iffy? And especially, if you have seen the Goosebumps movies by Sony Animation, let me know how you feel about this series. Now, let me know your thoughts on all this. Let's see now. This series could have a lot of potential. While I'm not a huge fan of Goosebumps, and at most, I've only read a couple of the books and seen the 2015 movie, I can definitely see how this series could capture the spirit of the books. Also, it is interesting that Disney is really interested in making more series based on the books for Disney Plus, not just with the new Goosebumps series, but also with the upcoming and highly anticipated Percy Jackson series for Disney Plus. Oh yeah, like Disney seems to be like really on a roll when it comes to adapting YA novels, or like, you know, novels that like are aimed for like teenagers or for kids. Like they seem to be on a great roll, especially like, I guess with what recently happened with Just Beyond, I guess that one was enough of a hit to justify Disney to really go and pursue with Goosebumps. So maybe this could work out. Let's see. I've seen both of the Sony movies, and the first is pretty good, while the second, not so much. So this could hopefully turn out pretty fun. All I ask is that they bring back Jack Black, and that they don't have any pointless side plots with the teenagers, and we'll all be good. Oh, and don't do what the second movie did by having a scene dedicated to gushing out how cool Bitcoin is. I couldn't make it up if I wanted to. Oh boy. That was a thing? Oh my god, that's, you know, honestly, Sony got very lucky that they were able to go and like let that slide for Goosebumps 2. They were lucky that Goosebumps 2 got released in 2018, because if Goosebumps 2 were like, if they would do something like that nowadays, like in 2021 or 2022, and have a moment where they were just praising Bitcoin and crypto, oh man, I can imagine, like, on that scene alone, regardless of how the rest of the movie is, people would just destroy the film to bits. Oh my god. Let's see now. I am a casual Goosebumps fan, to let you know. I've read some of the books. I saw some of the episodes on DVD when it aired on Cartoon Network at the time, and watched the 2015 film and the 2018 sequel in theaters. However, I will disagree on you with the 2015 film, as I liked the first film, although the sequel was disappointing. Seeing an upcoming Sony show made for Disney Plus is weird to me, but I would be down to check it out and hope it stays true to the spirit of the books. I hope it's good. Oh yeah, honestly, at this point, if you do enjoy the Goosebumps movie in general, like if you are a legit fan of the first Goosebumps film, and like you don't mind the teenagers aspect, and you really love the elements of Jack Black and the and what the Goosebumps elements did, then you'll probably have a blast with this one, considering how this one seems to stay more true to that tone, and that they're bringing back Rob Letterman for this. I think especially for fans of the first movie, they would totally be down for this, and I could see them be down for what Sony and Disney may have to offer with this. Let's see. For my thoughts, I have low expectations for this series. The only thing I like from the franchise are the OG books and the first movie. However, I hate the OG TV series, especially how that was one of the many reasons I became a Ghostbusters fan, first scaring the crap out of me. Okay, there. Let's see. As a fan of R.L. Stine and Goosebumps, I might look forward to this series. I remember reading the books, watching the original TV series, The Haunting Hour, and the Goosebumps movies. The first movie was good, and the sequel was meh. I wouldn't actually be surprised if R.L. Stine would make a cameo appearance in the Disney Plus series, as the real R.L. Stine. Also, why is Slappy looking at us with that image like, I see you? Now, I think, well, the thing is that, no, Slappy ain't looking at us. He's looking at the books. He's like, honestly, this is like Slappy driving his way to Disney, and he has all the scripts ready. I was like, okay, hopefully I don't have to make like a third or fourth draft. I hope Disney is cool with what we got right over here. We already got the materials. We just need Disney to say yes on all this crap. All right, I'm gonna read one more comment before we move on to our final story. Let's see what we got here. Who can I read? Okay, yeah, I'll read this one. Honestly, I remember seeing the live action film of Goosebumps. It was a mixed bag. While the positive is bringing back all the monsters into the universe and Jack Black as Slappy has a great performance, some of the characters are a bit hateable and the story is pretty predictable. But hey, it's better than Scooby-Doo 2. I wonder if it's an early part of Sony and Disney Plus and the Disney Plus plan for the future. I wouldn't necessarily say that it would be for that big plan, because I think that plan was more for that deal was aimed more for the movies. But then again, Sony is more open to helping out all the other studios. I mean, I know that Sony Pictures is still doing collaborations with other streaming services such as Amazon, Netflix, and yeah, of course they would also go and work with Disney Plus. Yeah, they coincidentally have a deal with Disney Plus, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Sony would ultimately end up putting their full commitment just with Disney. So I think it's really kind of a first come, first serve kind of thing, and Disney was interested with what Sony is doing with this, so that's why they're okay with having this happen. So yeah, hopefully, let's see. I see a lot of people are very positive, and some people are anticipated for this Goosebumps series. So let's hope for the best, and maybe we'll be, as they say in the show, that we will be in for a scare on Disney Plus. And now, folks, it is time. Yes, we're entering upon the grand finale. And unfortunately, we are going to be diving into a pretty controversial story. Not controversial as in, my first story of this episode, but I mean controversial in a way that is honestly unanimously concerning. That this is something that's currently going on, and it highlights a very unfortunate situation with the future of certain YouTubers. And what I'm going to be talking about is something that I have discussed a little bit before, but in this case over here, we're going to be talking about anime YouTubers. So you probably do remember a while back when I had Jax Blade as a special guest star, we talked about the controversy that happened with an anime YouTuber by the name of Totally Not Mark. And he was attacked by Toei, where he had over 150 of his videos be taken down and be given a copyright strike, which really did put his channel in jeopardy. And from there, he spent his time trying to go and fight these claims and find a way to go and salvage and save his channel. Now, one good news is that there was actually some salvation. There was actually a victory that Totally Not Mark did. And it was actually, surprisingly enough, thanks to the help of YouTube. Because as it turned out, what Toei did in order to go after Totally Not Mark, well, it was actually considered unlawful, where they went after him hard, and in a way was actually abusing the copyright, was abusing YouTube's copyright system. And especially YouTube had a plan with a new policy, or with a policy that they had for a while, but now they really want to go and actually put it in practice, where they did a little bit of a compromise, where instead of just directly taking down his videos, what they are going to do is something called geo-blocking. And instead of just blocking his video worldwide, or just blocking it everywhere, they would only go and block his videos in Japan. And that's it. But other than that, though, he could still have his videos be seen anywhere else, and it wouldn't necessarily go and affect his monetization. So he did manage to win the battle in a way, but it was mainly because YouTube managed to call Toei out on their malpractice and their legitimate abuse of the copyright system. So it didn't work out for Toei, but thankfully, Totally Not Mark did manage to get on top. However, this is not good news for other YouTubers, however, because there are other companies that did manage to find a way to go around the copyright system to attack the YouTubers directly. And that is unfortunately the case with Suede. Or for longtime internet users, you might probably know him more as that dude in the Suede from thatguywiththeglasses.com. Now, if you guys know Suede, this guy would have this ongoing series where he would review every episode of Pokemon, specifically the Pokemon anime. However, he was actually attacked by the company that made the Pokemon anime, specifically the Shogakukan Shueisha Productions, or as we know more as ShowPro, where they decided to bypass the copyright system and went after him directly and giving him a fine on top of like this more complex copyright system, where if they don't comply to him, they would just flat out take down his channel. In fact, let me go and read you here specifically of what happened. Or actually, you know what? Before I go into Suede's situation, let me go and read you what happened with the Totally Not Mark situation, reading from my source here on Anime News Network. As it states here, after being struck by over 150 copyright claims from Toei in December, Mark Fitzpatrick of the Totally Not Mark review channel reported in a video last Thursday that he has reached a concession with YouTube as the right owner. The flagged videos will be blocked in Japan but remain accessible in other countries. In order to issue a takedown in other regions with different copyright and fair use laws, the company must agree its case based on the laws of those territories. Fitzpatrick claimed that someone high up on YouTube reached out to him through Discord and informed him on the policy, which YouTube intends to roll out on a wider scale in the future. A YouTube policy communications manager told Kotaku that although this copyright policy is not new, it is the first instance of YouTube applying in practice. So for once, like, we actually got this nearly mythical moment where YouTube is legitimately helping out the creator and not the companies. It's like, holy crap. It's like, holy crap, for once, YouTube is doing something that could be helpful to us creators. What the fridge? But then again, going back into the Suede situation, they are finding ways to go around that. Where it now says here, on the other hand, the YouTuber Suede, who created the parody/review Pokemon Journey series, will have his channel deleted entirely in 3 months. In a video posted on Wednesday, he explained that Shogakukan Shueisha Productions, or ShowPro, sent a court complaint demanding that he pays 80,200 yen, approximately $700 US, in damages plus legal fees. Suede warned that instead of utilizing YouTube's automatic copyright claim system, companies can resort to manually sending legal threats to pressure YouTube creators. This tactic also disarms YouTubers the ability to issue a counterclaim through YouTube's system and make it prohibitively expensive for them to fight back. He also claimed that the geo-blocking solution employed in Totally Not Mark's case can also be redeemed moot if the company makes a claim for damages based on views occurred in Japan in the past. Suede advocates that all YouTubers be given access to geo-blocking in order to preemptively prevent issues like this from recurring in other contexts. And that's unfortunately the big situation that we are seeing here with the whole copyright claim situation, especially with Japanese companies such as Shoei and ShowPro. And honestly, it really is quite a frightening situation that we are seeing here. I mean, like, good on Totally Not Mark for actually solving his situation, sort of. Like, I'm glad to see that he did manage to resolve his situation in a way that he managed to save his channel, but it is very unfortunate for Suede, where his channel is unfortunately not going to last long. And what ShowPro has done to Suede, it really is frightening. And honestly, I do hope this is not something that other Japanese companies could actually go and pick up, or for other companies in general to go and pick up, where if they don't agree with the laws or with the system that YouTube has, they're just going to go and bypass the whole thing so that they could just go and attack the YouTuber directly. Now, that is something that is extremely frightening. And that is why you probably have seen on social media where you've seen a lot of anime-based YouTubers where they feel like their channels might be a little bit in jeopardy right now. Like, not just people like Totally Not Mark, or not just people such as Suede, but even people like Arcada or Jax Blade, or plenty of other, or Anime America, or plenty of other YouTubers that are heavily dependent on talking about anime and the products that are done by either Toei or ShowPro or any of those companies. It really is frightening to see, especially with their when they would find a way to bypass the whole copyright system and just go after the YouTubers directly. Because for those of you who don't know, the thing when it comes to when it comes to the copyright laws in Japan, they are extremely strict. Even strict to the point where fair use is not a thing in Japan. It doesn't exist in terms of Japanese copyright laws. Like, yeah, fair use is a thing that does exist in, like, North America or in Europe and stuff like that. Now, I know that there are some places where it's a little bit more different than others, but the whole point is, it can be like, copyright law, like when it comes to fair use, it's something that we are allowed to have in order to have clips in stuff like reviews, in educational videos, and all that kind of stuff that we can make the product to be transformative so that it could be something that's totally different. And yes, that we are allowed to go and capitalize and to go and monetize. And to hear that there are certain Japanese companies that they really want to go and bypass YouTube's system, it's horrifying. And the reason why YouTube is actually on the side of YouTubers in this case is because if you're going to go through YouTube's system, then you must abide to American copyright laws, considering that YouTube is a US-based company. So from there, if you want to go and put in a copyright law, or at least before the whole geo-blocking thing, then you would have to go and abide to US copyright laws and copyright rules before you would go and manually put a copyright claim or let the automated system do the job for you. But now it seems like these Japanese companies, they seem very adamant now, especially like ShowPro, that they want them to have things go their way, which is why they're going to go and bypass the copyright system in order to directly attack anime-based YouTubers. And it's a frightening sight to see, especially for someone like myself, because keep in mind, this is a situation where this is not just going to affect anime-based YouTubers, but this is going to go and heavily, this is going to be a massive problem for anime-based for not just for anime-based YouTubers, but for media-based YouTubers as well. Because keep in mind, it's not just anime people that just talks about anime, but people who just reviews movies and TV shows as well. Sometimes they could dab into anime. And this is also the case when it comes to cartoon-based reviewers. Keep in mind, anime is still a form of animation. Anime is pretty much just hand-drawn animation, no differently than what was done at like Disney or Don Bluth or whatever. It's still hand-drawn the same way that we see hand-drawn like in Wolfwalkers or Song of the Sea or something like that, but it is done in Japan. So, of course, we will see cartoon reviewers from time to time talk about anime, rather it be like Phantom Strider or Saberspark, or even myself. I know that I have talked about anime in the past before. Like, I've talked about like some movies such as Pokemon the first movie, or even some of Satoshi Kon's films like Paprika or Perfect Blue. Or I've talked about some anime in the past, rather it be like some popular ones such as Death Note and Cowboy Bebop, or I've talked about stuff like some like cult favorites such as Bakano not long ago, or even Holic. You know, I have talked about anime before, and in those videos, I have included clips of the anime themselves. And even I'll say right now that I am indeed working on a review based on an anime series, a popular anime series, in fact. I'm not going to say what specifically, but I am actually currently working on that. And seeing this happen, honestly, is actually kind of scary. And it does make me question about like the videos that I do have, and make me wonder, is this going to be like, how is this going to affect my channel? And honestly worried if there are going to be these Japanese companies that will come after me, because I've actually had experience of Japanese companies attacking me because of some of the videos that I've done that do include their clips, and they went after me hard. Like one of the best examples, and some people are even mentioning this, Studio Ghibli. There was at one point Studio Ghibli shut down, I think, one or even a few of my videos for Animation Look Back Studio Ghibli, and immediately gave me a copyright strike. Like, they didn't do just like, oh, we're just going to put a copyright claim and like you'll have the chance to do a distribute. No, like they came in like, copyright claim, copyright strike, this is taken down no matter what. Like, just immediately, without hesitation. And I'll tell you right now, Studio Ghibli is probably the strictest that I've ever met in terms of taking down one of my videos. Like, probably at the most, I think I've had one other experience where I've had a company come after me directly with a cease and desist to take down a video of mine where, like, it's not necessarily like a popular thing. It's not like Sony or Disney came after me with a cease and desist. It's like this small European company came after me with a cease and desist to take down one of my videos and to change things up to be more fair use friendly. But yeah, I like, so far the strictest that I've seen a company go after me in terms of copyright claims is easily Studio Ghibli. And it honestly makes me reconsider about what I should do with the current videos that I do have. Like, should I go and immediately go and geoblock them, or is it too late and this might end up putting my channel on jeopardy? And will this put other people's channels on jeopardy? Like, not just like, keep in mind, not just like me or Saberspark or Phantom Strider, but even like the media reviewers as well. Like, even I know Channel Awesome has a long history of talking about like some anime based movies and TV show. I even remember in the past when I used to be like a total nostalgia critic fan, I remember there was the incident where the entire Channel Awesome YouTube channel had their monetization removed because of the copyright claims that Studio Ghibli put on because of Doug Walker's Disney-cember dedicated to Studio Ghibli. So from there, it does make me concerned, and it does make me a little bit worried about what the future means for these anime-based YouTubers and what are they going to do. And I've honestly seen some people already bailing out. Like, I've even seen some people from who I used to collaborate with on RVT or Reviewtopia. like those people who are still technically a part of Reviewtopia, they actually took down like most of their videos because they had clips of anime. So it does make me concerned of what these Japanese companies are going to do. Like, are they going to apply the tactics similar to ShowPro, and they're really going to go on the attack on these YouTubers? I don't know, but it is something that is scary, and it is something that is very concerning. So for now, and like even right now, like even if like Totally Not Mark is you know, even if he's like, you know, like fine with his channel and he managed to win the battle against Toei, he is still very scared and very worried about what would be the next move that these anime-based companies are going to do next. And even with me, like as someone right now working on an anime review, like I am still planning on releasing it, but there is even a part of me, like I have even contemplated before if I'm just not going to release it on YouTube and make it a Patreon exclusive. Now, of course, eventually I would make the video go public, but I don't know. It's just, I'm at the point where I'm just contemplating like, what am I going to do in this case? If I have geo-blocking, then perfect. I can just go and actually like have that work. But for now, like the future of anime-based YouTubers, it's frightening. It really is frightening, especially when Japanese companies can probably have the ability to just bypass YouTube's copyright system so that they go and take those videos down themselves, so that they force anime-based YouTubers to abide to Japanese copyright laws. And honestly, I'm not ready for that moment, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my videos, especially the ones that are based on that are based on like anime products. Like I'll do what I can, like maybe I'll go and immediately put a like a geo-blocking thing so that they don't be shown in Japan, but I don't know if it's a situation where it is too late. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's a situation that like has me and a lot of other YouTubers concerned. And it's something that I want to speak out about, that I want to address, because yeah, this is going to be something that may affect the people that you do watch. And who knows, if these anime-based companies are very adamant with taking down YouTubers, then you never know if this is going to be a case where maybe we'll never, like maybe like the entire genre of anime-based reviewers might no longer exist. And it's honestly a pretty frightening thought. So with all that said now, I'm going to go and ask you guys, I want to go and ask your opinion. How do you feel about this entire situation? Are there anime YouTubers that you watch? Do you know others that are concerned about this situation? Let me know what you think on all this. Okay, let's see. I really hope for the best for these anime YouTubers. This really just shows how Japanese companies are so strict with copyright to where they are even more strict than American companies like Disney and Nintendo, but I just hope for the best. Let's see what else. I'm really shocked that Japan is going pretty much all out on anyone talking about anything that is created by the Rising Sun Island. But what worries me more than YouTubers not being able to talk about their anime passions is international conventions like Camcom, Anime Next, Nadeshikon, Japan Expo. Please don't have a full-on ban on Japan culture. Well, I don't think there's going to be like a full-on ban on those per se, but I think it's specifically on specifically in terms of like the fair use argument, you know. I think it's I don't think this is going to affect conventions. I think for now this is just going to be affecting videos that do contain clips of anime. I think that's going to be the big thing. Let's see now. This is very concerning, even for me, since I've been making retrospective analysis videos on shows and movies, and I don't want me and other anime YouTubers suffer the same fate as Mark and Suede. Speaking of which, I am definitely in support of Suede and his campaign of #GeoBlocking for all. I hope for the best for Suede and Mark after this whole nightmare. We really need geo-blocking. Exactly. And I think geo-blocking is going to be the only thing that's going to be it's going to be the only thing that will sustain the future of anime-based reviewers. I think the future of anime-based reviewers in general is going to be dependent on geo-blocking to be a thing. And if YouTube can roll it out more so that every YouTuber, not just like the big popular ones that have like over 100,000 subscribers and stuff like that, but like every YouTube can have that, that could actually be very helpful, and that we can actually see a legitimate future generation of anime-based reviewers or YouTubers that are very passionate about anime and expressing their love for anime. Let's see. Everyone is very disappointed. First, Gulliver Sunner is gone, and now totally not Mark. I know he is in a frightening situation, but before that, I had two things. One, we know the copyright system is broken and left unfixed. Two, they hired an aggressive lawyer who viciously abused the copyright system and possibly a frightening part in history of YouTube. Someone, for heaven's sakes, fix the copyright system. Yeah, but that is kind of the biggest problem. Even at that, even if we do fix the copyright system, these Japanese lawyers, they found a way to go around that. They found the loophole where they don't need the copyright system to take down those videos and go after those YouTubers. And that's the part that is frightening, is that this is much more than just a YouTube copyright system problem. This really is how can I say this? It really is a problem where it really is lost in translation in terms of what is fair use and what is considered copyright. Let's see what we got. Hold on, YouTube is actually doing something good for once? I never thought this day would arrive. I know, me neither. Hearing about this, though, is just horrifying. To see these Japanese studios just ruthlessly attack the YouTubers who just want to share their love of anime makes me really worried about the future of anime YouTubers. I'm even subbed to Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime YouTubers who lost over 600 of his videos. I truly hope for the better for future of anime YouTubers. Yeah, and it's not just them also. And I mean, this is not just in terms of reviewers, but also, like, keep in mind, YouTubers in general. People such as Team 4-Star and Little Karibo are in jeopardy because of this. They are in critical danger because of, like, even their abridged series. Technically, that doesn't necessarily fly in terms of Japan's copyright laws. All right, I'll read one more comment before we go and cap this off. I'm very sorry for many YouTubers that focus on anime for having their videos taken down because of showing some clips from anime movies and shows. I don't have any YouTubers that I follow that talk about anime, with Chris Stuckman as the closest thing in talking about anime, but I just hope their channels don't get taken down when Japan anime studios are out of control. And that's the worrying part. Yes, even people like Chris Stuckman, like people who do talk about anime or do show clips of anime, any of them are in danger no matter what. And that's the true frightening part of this. And yeah, hopefully things will be better and 2022 won't actually see a purge of anime-based YouTubers. But like for now, the lesson of all this is that people who do talk about anime or who do show clips of anime in their videos, they really need to stay vigilant. They need to be fully aware and like be cautious with what they do and like actually take seriously in terms of like make sure the geo-blocking is on, because you never know if there even is going to be a future in terms of anime YouTubers in general. And with that said, that should conclude today's episode of Animat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And man, what an episode, man. What a fun episode that we went through. Oh boy, man. And especially some fun discoveries that we may had, especially during the Goosebumps story. Now, I will say tune in next week, folks, because for next time, it's gonna be a very exciting episode, especially when coming soon, we are going to have the Oscar nomination. So on the next episode, we are definitely gonna go into that. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for joining me on this. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes.